Well, I'm going to kick straight off with a little bit of a summary. I see people in our chat box asking other members, what is the UK column talking about? Bring me up to speed. And I thought a very good place to start would be with a little overview of where we really see the UK at the moment, and some of the bodies that are interacting on our national forms of government. So let's put some of this together in a little diagram. We're going to call this the creeping rise of the UK dictatorship, because I think that this is the clear theme. UK column is becoming less and less of a democracy, and it's clear that the government is going to impose more and more rules and regulations on us. But of course, for many people, Parliament sits in the middle. Parliament has the discussions, and this basically ultimately provides the policies which control the country. Well, is that the case anymore? Because what we see at the moment is minimal parliamentary debate on key subjects, we could say any subject. In addition, we've got rise of the uniparty, so little difference between the Conservatives and Labour. At the end of the day, the key strategic policies always seem to be the same, and certainly if there's a war involved, then they're acting as one. We've also got the close down of free speech. This is happening in Parliament. We've seen this, for example, with Andrew Bridgen, but it's happening for the wider public. The government is telling us what we can and cannot say. And the next thing we see from Parliament is the rubber stamping of policy from global bodies, NGOs, think tanks, and global corporate interests such as Bill and Melinda Gates or the big vaccine companies such as Pfizer, for one example. But of course, this situation gets worse because the local authorities have been politicised as well. So they're driven by party politics using the cabinet system. They do as the party says, and they're increasingly subservient to that higher level policy coming directly to the local authority in some cases without going through Parliament. So over the top of our Parliament, we've got to put the powerful global bodies who seem to control the shots. It might be the UN or G7 or the World Health Organization or the World Economic Forum or COP, which has just taken place. But with this, very often comes these treaties or agreements, bilateral, multilateral agreements, which the public really has very little knowledge of, but which lock the UK into engagement with other countries and organisations. Now, we're also going to add King Charles, because he, of course, is going totally against his promises that he was not going to be active politically, and he is heavily involved, particularly with these high-level bodies such as COP, the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum. He is absolutely active in these high-level policies. So what is the spin-off as far as the UK public is concerned? Well, of course, we've got the intelligence community, the security services and the military targeting UK population. We've got intelligence and security entering into what I'm calling opaque bilateral agreements, such as with the Israeli intelligence unit 8200. We've got special forces being used as a private army. We've got a vast spying network on the public via the Prevent channel system, also includes MAPA and FTAC, the Fixated Threat Assessment Centre, and that's all on a promise that, trust us, we are keeping you safe from terror. We've also got the state increasingly intrusive with personal data and access and collection of that data, whether it's financial, health and the family. And lastly, but not least, we've got the police becoming increasingly aggressive, intrusive and paramilitary. I'm just going to go straight over to you, Charles, because I know you're going to do a little segment on the police in a little while, but what is your initial reaction to the summary?
Thank you, Brian, and good afternoon, all. I think it's a very concise and well put together summary, and I think it does articulate very well what it is that UK Column seeks to do, or at least where UK Column will look in order to explain the current situation we find ourselves in. I think for a lot of people, it's bewildering as to how we can be subjugated to the will and desires of all these supranational bodies. But I do think that that's explained in large part by the very banal and low level corruption that everybody's got used to on a daily basis. And allied to, or aligned with that, that the sort of practice of being told what to do. And I think a sort of mundane example of that is, for example, political correctness and, say, health and safety. People being told that they can't do this, they can't do that. And rather than it being rejected out of hand in the first instance, it creeps and creeps and creeps. And before you know it, there's no resistance at all when it goes that much further up the chain. And by which time it appears to be too late.
Well, Charles, thank you for that. Your end point there is perfect, because for our audience today, let's give a